Hi, I'm Paul Roos, father of Dylan and Tyler, husband of Tammy, and this is Fatherhood, to be honest. How was my approach to fatherhood different to my own dad's? I think again, it's about the different eras. I remember my father was pretty much off to work every morning at 6 in the morning and back home at 7:30 at night. You know, we'd sit around, have dinner together at the table, and then I'd be off to sport on the weekend and he'd take me to sport. But most of the interaction was probably around the dinner table, probably around when you're in the car with your dad talking about footy, talking about sport. I think the notion of my role and the fortunate being a senior coach is the times I was able to get to the school, get to the local footy game with the boys or the school footy game. So I think I was able to spend more time with my boys, which I really, really appreciated. And I think it's probably something my dad wanted to do, but due to his vocation and what he did during the day, he was not able to do. So I made a commitment myself to spend as much time as possible I could with the boys. I think the great thing about being today is the computers, the phones, the connection. So you don't always have to be at work, whereas my father had to be in the office, had to answer his phone, had to talk to people in the office. Now, we can relocate, we can move, we can do work with our family. And I think this notion of family here and work here is complete garbage. You've got to have balance with your family. Bring them into the workplace when you can. I'm sure you'd noticed that my kids would never sat in the coach's box with me, but I'm sure you would have noticed they were in the room singing the song. So where you can, make the connection. Take time off, take your holidays, and use that technology wisely. Alrighty, complete the sentence. The one thing nobody told me about fatherhood was, well, let me tell you, it's 24/7 and it's a lifetime commitment. What's been the hardest phase of fatherhood so far? I think it's actually the time when your boys go out drinking. I mean, that's a really difficult period of time and you worry about their friends and who they're associating with. Obviously, there's a huge issue now about the violence and the one punch and just lying there awake at night at 3 in the morning sometimes and not knowing where the boys are and not knowing whether they're at home in the bed. And I remember often jumping up and wandering down to their bedrooms, and that feeling of safety that you get once you open the door and they were snuggled up in bed, and even though they were 18 and 19, I mean, they were still your little boys and you still felt that you really, really wanted to look after them. What was the best piece of advice someone ever gave me about parenting? For me, it was about time. Just spend time with your kids. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular, just the commitment and the time. How do myself and my wife balance each other's expectations and commitments? Again, I think the notion of family for me is discussing things before you do them. And I remember taking on the Sydney Swans coaching job, even though my boys were really young at the time, we discussed it as a family. We always make a commitment as a family, whether that's the commitment for Tammy's meditation and the workshops that he do, but we always discuss it. We're in this together. We're a family doing this together. We have different roles and different things that we do, but I think if you discuss it before you go into it, and you talk about some of the problems that might exist, but also some of the exciting things that will lead to, it is so much more valuable. Sit down, chat about it, discuss it, and agree upon it. Simplest way to do it. So really the transferable skills from parenting is about honesty. Sometimes it's really hard to be a parent, because you can't always be their friend, you can't always be their mate, you've got to set some guidelines, exactly the same as being a coach. You want to have a good relationship with your players, but you've got to set standards and you've got to set behaviours, and you've got to be really clear with them. So that's one really, really strong correlation between being a dad that wants to be a mate, but also has to set guidelines, a coach that wants to have really, really good relationships with his players and get on well with them, but has to set guidelines. What part of your dad game are you working on at the moment? Well, clearly my boys are 22 and 24. The jokes I was telling when they were 8, 9 and 10 probably don't quite work as we speak. I reckon they're funny, but I'm not getting a great response. So I've got two choices. Keep going with the old jokes or get some new jokes. And I'm a little bit on the fence as to which way I'm going to go.
Give us a joke, or give us one.
Okay, so this has probably only been told, I reckon, over 100 times. I had a dream last night. I woke up. I dreamt that I'd eaten a big marshmallow. I woke up and my pillow was gone. What moment was I most proud of my role as a father? I think it's really in the simple moments. It's in the simple moments, and I call them simple moments because it's not about the holiday to Aspen or the holiday to Africa or the wonderful times that we all spend together. I think it's in the quiet moments. It's in the 21st dinner where you're just sitting around as a family and you're looking around and you're seeing how proud you are of your two boys and what they've been able to achieve, and you're looking at the wife and the connection that you have. And I think it's in the really simple moments of reflection that you realise that, you know, you've hopefully done a pretty good job and you've got this really, really strong family connection and this amazing love within the room that often doesn't get talked about, but you need to sit there in those quiet moments of reflection and say, I've done a pretty good job here. There's always room for improvement. I reckon we're going okay. Next up, Q&A. What are you most commonly guilty of? Dad jeans, dad jokes, or dad bod? No, none of the above. Why did you want to be a dad? Do I have to answer these?